We're talking Clover. Clover's results are expected out very soon. Of course, a branded foods and beverages group with a strong emphasis on value-added products. The stock closed up by 0.8% today at R12.70. Paul, let's get your overall views on the dairy product milk company.
Well, milk, as you know, is people have been drinking it for a long time. This is a company that's been through extensive restructuring in the process of bringing itself to market. Also, it had quite a significant shift in terms of its shareholdership, as it was usually partly owned by the farmers who produced the milk, who sold it in on a co-op basis. But obviously they then were involved with production of cheeses and yogurts and so on and so forth. So the company owns the distribution system that puts these fast-moving dairy-based products into supermarkets and so on and so forth. The problem, as we know, is when companies list, it takes a while to work out what on earth is going on with their financials. And this one has only been on the market, I think, for about a year. And they had quite a big shift in the earnings base. So they are yet to sort of settle in my mind. So you can say, well, there's a year's worth of earnings. There's what they're doing. Because the comparisons were all weird. Because the prior years, which was a different company structure. So the CEO, Johan Forster, is working hard. He's always on TV, not the least of which on CNBC Africa, talking up the story. They're pretty positive. They talk about the blue sky in the business the whole time. I'm a bit skeptical because I want to wait and see, you know, until such time as they've had some year-on-year comparatives to see what this company is capable of. For the moment, it's a relative minnow. It's got a 2.5 billion rand market cap compared to AVI, which is at 15.5. and Tiger, which is at 50. So that gives you a sense of the scale of the thing. And for the moment, it's trading around about a sort of a 10, 11 PE, which is kind of what the market generally gives a company if it doesn't know what its earnings are.
Because their earnings for the 2010 year were at 500, in terms of profits, profit before tax, 500 million rand. That fell back to 280 million rand, a big drop there. And the company says the single biggest impact on their performance will be their ability to pass on high input costs in terms of the selling price. Yeah. And that is a big red flag, one would say, that given the fact that they haven't been able to do that. Yeah.
And look, you're dealing in a commodity product like milk that is awfully vulnerable to the impact of these kind of input costs that you're talking about. So, you know, that's one of the things that does concern me, the fact that although they have extended the range dramatically of their products into fruit juices, yogurts, cheeses and all the things that Paul was talking about, they are very, very dependent on the milk price. And, you know, if we see a shortage of milk, for example, are they going to be able to supply this type of thing? It's yeah, those costs affect many companies, but I think it'll be particularly acute on a company like Clover.
What about the inefficiencies that they have in the supply chain? Because that has been something that's been an issue for the company, and whether they get that right or their investment into the supply chain is going to start bearing fruit is perhaps a question mark right now.
Yeah, again, it's an issue of scale. If you've been around like Tiger has for 100 years, then you've worked out all of these issues, whereas Clover is still grappling with issues around where the milk is, which is mostly the KwaZulu-Natal area, and where the market is, and looking at production facilities and distribution logistics. But that's characteristic of smaller companies. There could be a good opportunity here for people who can scratch beneath the surface and get the real story, but unfortunately that's not me yet.
So the company listed in 2010, as I said, it closed at R12.70 today. It's still trading higher than where it listed at. But would you be waiting around to see whether it's a hot or not stock pick right now? Your views?
Definitely. I'm still cold on this one, like the product cold chain that they have to maintain. But let's see. You're right. They've been in a band around that sort of 10 to 12, 13 rand a share level. You know, they've got to demonstrate that they can deliver the earnings consistently to justify that price.
It's considered a staple, but it's not. It doesn't really work in the same bracket that Tiger Brands would work in, of course. Hot or not for you, Chris?
Good company. I like the story, but I think, as Paul says, I think we have to wait and do a lot more analysis on this one before we can get a feel for whether it's really hot or not.